Good evening, and welcome to tonight's celebration of 50 years of Title IX at Abington High School. I'm honored to serve as Abington High School's athletic director on any day, but tonight it takes on special significance as we celebrate the progress that we have made towards increasing opportunities for our female student athletes over the 50 years since the passage of Title IX. To share the stage with the students and alumni panelists that we have tonight is meaningful and humbling. Over the last several months, as we prepared to recognize the 50th anniversary of Title IX, I have had many conversations with current students, alumni, and coaches. It's been a very reflective process that has helped me understand the significant progress that we have made and identify numerous areas where we can continue to level the playing field and increase opportunities for all students, including females. Tonight is by no means a celebration of a completed job, but an acknowledgement of the work that has been done, and it will hopefully serve to inspire us to continue to do more, as we are all aware that more needs to be done. Simply put, we all need to be better. Looking back at the past decade, where I've been privileged to serve as the athletic director, I'm proud of the progress we continue to make in regard to equity of sport. We have significantly increased the opportunities for female student athletes. Specifically, the fall season, we've added 3 levels of volleyball, allowing over 50 more girls to play a sport in the fall. We have added an indoor track season for female student athletes, which engages another 40 to 50 students. And we have even had students participate in wrestling during the winter season. We've created a thriving unified sports program that has allowed more students to have a high school athletic experience. We recognize that there's still work to be done. Specifically, we continue to work on a way to offer our female students a way to play hockey with other females. I'm honored to work alongside many of our talented female coaches here at Abington High School. Over the past several years, we've been able to recruit and retain a significant number of female coaches to lead our programs. Not only are they exceptional coaches of their sport, but each are exceptional people and role models for the students. Many of the coaches are here tonight, and I'd like to thank them and recognize the contributions that they make daily. Tonight's program will feature a video produced and edited by Class 2002 graduate Faith Ryan, providing a background on Title IX and showcasing the stories of some of our prominent alumni spanning over 50 years. After the video, we'll have a panel discussion with 5 of our current female athletes who represent a number of different sports and experiences. Each of them continue to inspire me to be better every day. Meeting with them and many of our other female student athletes over the past several months has been inspiring. We have remarkable students in the building who are fortunate to have an opportunity to participate in athletics as a result of those who have paved the way for them. I know that the alumni that you will hear from tonight all left AHS and each of us better than when they came here. I can assure you that the alumni panel you will meet later represents some of the best that we have to offer, and Abington truly has some of the best to offer, period. I was fortunate enough to be taught by one of the panelists, learn from another through their generosity, which allowed the creation of the Abington High School Hall of Fame, and their willingness to share inspiring remarks with graduating seniors. And the final 3, all of which make me feel very old, I was able to witness them excel in high school and beyond. I can truly say, being around each of them while they were in high school, it was clear that they would be successful and that athletics had a significant impact on them. They made everyone better by their presence. Without the equal opportunities in athletics, I'm not sure that they would have been able to have the significant positive impact on their peers and the community as large that they did. While tonight's celebration will speak specifically about sport, it is about so much more. The opportunities that Title IX has created has instilled skills and values that set people up for success far beyond the fields and courts that they play on. They make people better, and Title IX created more opportunities for participation that made the participants better, as well as those around them. Without further ado, I'd like to begin our program with a video produced and edited by Class 2022 Faith Ryan.
Title IX states that
no person in the United States shall
be excluded from participation in,
on the basis of sex,
be denied the benefits of,
or be subjected to discrimination under any education program
or activity receiving
federal financial assistance.
So this means that we have the same fields,
Weight room, trainer,
locker room setup, and opportunities to play outside of high school
as our male counterparts.
Every
day is payday. Swipe my card, then I do the nay-nay. You talking to a late date. I want a Kanye, yeah, not a Ray J. So that's a no-no. I'ma make back and use a Volvo. This convo beat like Dre, ayy. I already know what you're trying to say. Say that you a baller and I see you trying to holler about that 8 hours right up. Next, looking for the money 'cause that's what my mama taught me. So your ass better show me some respect. Boss, Michelle Obama, purse so heavy, get no $1. Boss, Michelle Obama, purse so heavy, get no $1. Boss, Michelle Obama, purse so heavy, get no $1. Boss, Michelle Obama, purse so heavy, get no $1. CONFIDENT, that's me, I'm confident. Don't want your compliments, use common sense. I'm on my Michelle Obama. Shut your.
Hi, my name is Eileen Creighton Walls, and I'm a member of the Abington High School class of 1971. I play field hockey, basketball, and softball at Abington High for my 4 years. Pre-Title IX and pre-just today's days, those were the only 3 sports that were offered to girls in those days. A lot more recognition for girls' sports, as there should be today. When I played, nobody, and I mean nobody, came to our games. I did find that the staff at the high school did ask about our games, so that was I appreciated their interest, but we didn't have fans of any sort. Didn't seem to bother us at the time, but I do see that the girls' teams are really supported by fans, girls, boys, parents, staff, and that's nice to see because everybody likes their work to be recognized. I had a wonderful coach. I had the same coach, all 3 sports, all 4 years. Her name was Marsha Crooks. She taught at Abington High. She's also a member of the Abington Athletic Hall of Fame. I didn't know it at the time when I was in high school, but Marsha Crooks and other local coaches, and I'm sure others outside of the South Shore, were working behind the scenes to try and get more parity and equality in girls' sports. I learned many years later that she was instrumental with the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association in writing up the rules for girls' sports, creating girls' tournaments. When I was playing, there were no tournaments. When we finished our season, we finished our season.
1978, when I was going to be a freshman at Abington High School, I was so excited to be able to play a sport for my school. Disappointed to find out we didn't have a girls' soccer team to try out for. A couple of my friends, Dottie Walsh and Bridget Hall, said they were going to try out for the boys' team. And I didn't know we could do this. And they said they can't deny us. And I said, I'm on board. So the 3 of us tried out and we made the JV team. Mr. Kent was our coach. A lot of the boys we knew, they were our friends. We were all teammates. I think Mr. Kent was a little bit nervous that we might get hurt, but he learned very quickly that we get bumped, banged, knocked down, and we get right back up and keep playing. Bottom line is we were athletes. The following year, my sophomore year, we had a girls program. We had so many people at tryouts that we were able to have a JV and a varsity team. And Mr. Kent came over and was the varsity girls coach. And I'm forever grateful to him for becoming our coach and giving the program a chance. I went into the Navy. I just wanted to serve my country. And I did active duty for 5 years and reserves for 3 years. That's another area where you need to work as a team. Being in a hospital, being a Navy nurse, you're part of something that's bigger than yourself. And the confidence I gained through high school, playing sports, learning how to get along, I took that with me to college and to my first job and also to the Navy. I decided to become an ice hockey official. And I have been doing that for 10 years, and I still do it today. And that's been very rewarding to be on that side of sports. Not the athlete, not the coach, but the official. And the confidence I gained in playing sports through high school and college helped me to do things like that today.
Being able to play sports in high school has made me to the person I am today, because I feel like it taught me how to work with different types of people and together as a team. It taught me how to win and how to lose, how to be a good teammate, to set goals for myself, manage my time, and I learned how to compete and to be responsible.
I think as a young woman in sports in high school today,
they really start to learn who they are and how much their body can handle, both physically and mentally, which I think is very important. And I think that all sports, no matter what the capacity is, can help somebody find who they really are. I just became a crime analyst in Syracuse, New York, and the reason I actually got that job was because of my athletic experience. One of the people that was hiring me finds it to be a key skill is having athletic backgrounds in your life, and by doing that, I was able to secure my dream job.
AHS not only made me a great athlete, but an even better person. I definitely wouldn't be the person I am today without high school sports. They taught me how to work hard, how to handle failure, how to overcome adversity, and those are just life lessons that I'm glad I learned at such an early age. I came out of high school with leadership skills, self-confidence, and lifelong friendships that I wouldn't have if I didn't play high school sports.
Sports taught me a lot. They taught me discipline, toughness, determination, and teamwork, which are skills that I rely on every day still. More importantly, they taught me that practicing something every day makes you better and to never quit even if something's challenging. Lastly, it taught me how to be a leader and how to work as a team to accomplish goals, which is something I rely on every day still. If I didn't play sports growing up, I don't think I would be where I am today. I don't think I would have chosen this career path, but I also don't think I would be as hardworking, dedicated, or as great of a teammate if I didn't learn all those things throughout my childhood because of sports. Abington High School provided an excellent platform for young women playing sports. We were extremely successful and accomplished a lot during the years that we were there because it directly related to the environment that we were given, the coaches that we had, and the support around us that the school provided. I went off to study sport management in college at UMass Amherst, and I now am living out my dream of working for the Boston Red Sox. If I didn't play sports growing up, I don't think I would be where I am today. I don't think I would have chosen this career path.
So I'm very grateful for the way that Abington Athletics treats their athletes and that they care more about who the person is rather than how good they are at the sport.
Abington High School does a great job at providing female student athletes with a variety of different female role models. We have many varsity female head coaches as well as JV coaches, and we also have a female strength and conditioning coach, which is very uncommon at the high school level to have a female in the weight room being able to assist and instruct our kids.
Me growing up is that I needed to be a good student. I needed to get good grades in order to keep playing sports. They went hand in hand, and I knew that. So it instilled in me a work ethic, not only for school to get good grades, but also a work ethic to be the best athlete I could be.
I think that we do need laws like Title IX, mainly because, and this is paraphrasing Martin Luther King, you may not be able to change a person's mind about the rightfulness and the need for equality and parity in all aspects of life, but you can legislate it to guarantee that those equalities are legal and supported. And so we need the Title IXs out there in the world to make sure that our rights are protected, enforced, and opportunities are given to everybody.
Thank you, Title IX. Thank you, Title IX. Thank you, Title IX.
Thank you, Faith. I'd now like to introduce our student panelists to join us on the stage, starting with Faith Ryan. Faith, as I mentioned, is a recent graduate who played soccer, indoor track, and lacrosse. And before we continue with the other students, I would like to share that earlier today we were notified another accolade that Faith has recently received. The Massachusetts Secondary Schools Athletic Directors Association will be awarding Faith Ryan with the Mickey Sullivan Student Achievement Award for District 9, which encompasses over 60 schools in southeastern Massachusetts. The Mickey Sullivan Award recognizes one student annually in each of the 9 MIA districts for students who have made a meaningful and lasting contribution to high school athletics. Faith's work not only on tonight's Title IX presentation, but with our unified sports program set her apart from others. Faith will be formally presented the award next year, but since we found out today, I did want to let Faith know. Joining Faith are 4 other members of the class of 2024, Natalie Van Luling, who plays soccer, basketball, and lacrosse. Ella Williamson, who plays soccer, basketball, and track and field. Callie Pino, who plays hockey and softball. And Molly Buccigrass, who plays volleyball and lacrosse. And at this time, I'd like to invite Sean Riley up to help facilitate a discussion.
Thank you, Mrs. Serino, and I just want to say to Ms. Ryan and all of your classmates that video was awesome. Very well done, and again, I want to congratulate you on a very good job. My name is Sean Riley, and for those of you who don't know me, I'd like to say, actively involved in Abington Greenway sports for a while as trying to be one of their biggest boosters, and I've been proud to witness what these young ladies have done and what a lot of women have done here at Abington High School. And that was the first time I saw the video, and it was great to see because I've witnessed every single one of those women playing, with the exception of Eileen Walls, who will be here from class 71. And Lisa O'Neill was my classmate, and it was great to hear her story about how they basically, the female student athletes, wanted to play soccer, and they got together and they made it happen, and I was her classmate, and I didn't even know that happened. And I am just very impressed with my classmate Lisa, and I know because of what she and her classmates did, some of these young ladies now are all-stars playing soccer. I see some mothers out there who also played soccer here at Abington High School, because it all started because women stepped up for themselves and said, we deserve it, we're just as good as they are, and they prove it. And these 5 ladies are just representatives of the type of female student athletes. They are both students and athletes. We're very proud of everything that happens here at Abington High School. And my job tonight, I hope, is really to allow these young ladies to kind of talk to you and to talk to each other about their experiences. Now, Faith is a senior, and the other 4 are sophomores. So they've all experienced things a little bit differently. Faith's moving on, we'll talk about that. The other 4 have 2 more years ahead of them, so they're going to tell us what they've experienced thus far and what they hope to experience. But Title V, I want to read it one more time, the phrase in particular: no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, or be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. That was passed back in 1972. And here we are, 50 years later, and we've come a long way, but we're not anywhere near at the goal. We have a lot more to do. And we hope to celebrate some of the progress that we've made, both with our current students and our distinguished alumni panel who will be up here later, but also to point out where we still have a lot of work to do. And we're looking for your suggestions. And later, at the end of the program, we'd like to hear if you have any questions or maybe stories that you want to share. We'd love to have you take part in this discussion, this kind of open forum. So let me just start in general, ladies, and if you make sure those microphones are turned on. Can you just describe what is, one of the things of playing sports we hear about is playing on a team. And it's something that you might not get unless you actually experience it. So can you share with me, and we'll start with our senior, what are some of the things that you enjoy, or what are the benefits of playing on a team in the sports scenario?
So I've personally done 12 seasons of sports at Abington Athletics. So weird it's coming to an end. But I think some of the benefits of being on a sport is all like the community service and team bonding you do together. Like this past year, the soccer team passed out flyers for Jeff Coombs' race and then actually all ran it together, which is sad that that tradition is coming to an end, but I know they'll find other things. And then actually just Monday, the lacrosse team made blankets for Annie's Kindness blankets, and it was like our last practice and we all just got to hang out together, and then that's something I'll always remember. It's just like the little things like going to Mary Lou's together and Martin's on half days with your team. Like that's something you just can't find anywhere else.
And to add on to Faith, I think being on a team is like having another family. I think playing sports, something I'm looking forward to in the next 2 years at Abington High School, is just seeing these families grow and playing different sports and being around different people. I think the environment just gets better and better every year.
Yeah, it just brings people together. You have your spring sport athletes coming to fall sports games and vice versa. And you have the like girls basketball team helping out with the youth practices and clinics, and just meshes those age groups together and promotes the program.
I do think that joining a sport is a commitment, and it prepares us for the real life when we have to like interact with our communities and decide what we want to do like as a team.
I think you create the best bonds playing sports with each other. And with my softball team, I think we got close with the youth players by helping them out when they were younger.
Are there certain parts of your your athletic experience here at Abington High School that you recognize as being more equal now than perhaps it was? Have you seen, is there something that is maybe a little bit better now at the high school level that wasn't in the youth sports level? Or do you see any sort of progress and momentum building to kind of build up the female sports?
Yeah, it's just this year, the Student Athletic Advisory Committee has made an Instagram where every day or every game day they'll post the sports that have a game and where it is and what time it is. So you definitely see more fans going, because typically it's just if like someone would post it on their Instagram story, then that's how you know there is a game. But if you knew there was exactly one place you could go, see if there's any games, see what time, and see if any of your friends could go. I feel like they've promoted more people to go to games.
I think along with recognition, I think Abington's come a long way with youth programs. I know that the lacrosse team helped out and we were coaching the youth girls for a little while. I think there's so many more youth teams for sports that we didn't have when we were growing up, and I love to see that kind of growth in the athletic program.
And there's like a good amount of exposure, the like cam production and huddle for like most sports teams. You get to like keep your highlights and record that so you can see it if you're like not there.
I want to touch back on what Molly said. We have a new youth program for the girls lacrosse, and when these girls like first joined, they really didn't know what they were doing because we've never had a program before. There's no 3rd and 4th graders, so it starts at 5th grade, and the progress from the beginning of the year to the end of the year was just like unbelievable to see. So like we can really tell that the youth programs helped.
And I definitely wish the youth program was something that was around when I was a youth, because I didn't pick up a stick until the first day of freshman year tryouts, which is probably not my best decision. But no one ever knew how to play lacrosse that could teach me, so it was just kind of like, oh, go up and show. But I'm glad that the girls have someone to look up to now.
It's been surreal coaching the little girls, and I love to see even more teams developing at the youth level. I think it's such a good opportunity for little kids, and hopefully something we'll see is those teams expanding even more to elementary levels.
There was actually a photo in the video of some of the youth kids, the kids, and how much they really look up to kids your age, the high schoolers. I mean, to you, they're giants. Yeah. To them, you are giants. Do you kind of feel like a responsibility to take part with helping the younger kids, especially the younger girls, build their confidence and really take part in athletic programs? I mean, when you're coaching and helping out the youth sports, are you talking to them about encouraging them, or is it really just kind of running through drills?
I think it's both. I think you create relationships with the girls that you're coaching, and along with teaching them the sport, it's so humbling and it's so thrilling to experience like the immaturity almost at such a young level and be able to add on to that and teach them something and build a relationship with them and laugh with them and joke with them. It's like you're touching back to when you were that age, and I love it.
I think I only have a younger brother. I have a younger brother and an older brother. And teaching these young girls, it's like having like a bunch of little sisters, and as like annoying as they could be, but they're still like my favorite. They're funny and they're energetic, and it like makes me love the sport again. I think that like seeing them enjoy lacrosse makes me enjoy it more. So.
And also not even like the expansion of the youth program, but allowing 8th graders to be a part of the high school teams. We're running track. I got to hang out with some of my 8th graders in the crowd. And it was cool teaching them a sport and getting to hang out with them and getting to learn all about the middle school side and just feel like you're young again. I don't know.
I also agree. My softball team, we helped out with the youth girls, and I just feel like we created like good bonds with them, and they could really talk to us when they needed it.
And I think that the high school and your coaches appreciate all of your efforts helping out the younger kids, because you guys are basically feeding the farm system and making Green Wave sports even more successful, and especially women's sports more successful. And anyone who's lived in Abington for any number of years knows that we have very successful sports programs here in Abington. I don't know what it is, but we have a great community. And other towns, it's just boys. It's you know, they have the baseball team or the football team is great, but we've got a softball team was just in the playoffs. The tennis team was in the playoffs. The track team is breaking school records and individual records. The women's track team. I mean, the boys are great too, but let's talk about women today. A couple of you have older brothers, and a lot of you have friends who are boys who play sports. Do you feel that there's an equal amount of respect between each other? Do you feel there's still any sort of disparity where some people think that boys sports are just better than girls sports? Or do you guys feel that you're on an equal level as far as how people view your girls' athletic programs?
I can go first. I think definitely last season the girls lacrosse went like 0-14. It's not great, but this year we bounced back and we were 10-9, so it's okay. But at the beginning of the season, I felt like the boys lacrosse team was always trying to compete with our team to see like who could have the better record. We were all just trying to build each other up. Like we always went to their games, they came to ours, but for some reason they just couldn't have like the better record than us. They thought that was like disappointing, and like that's how they knew they failed or something. But like we both made it to the tournament and stuff, so.
And I think Kelly and I know we both played hockey growing up, and I think that really set the standard for relationships between boys and girls in sports. I think, especially at the younger level, I think the respect is a lot greater than it is in high school. I think in high school, girls are so much more mature, and I think that those relationships flow so much easier in youth level. I know it was so easy for me fitting in on a boys hockey team when I was younger, but I can't imagine doing that now. I think there's a lot of competition, especially at the high school level between boys and girls, but I think the respect it's coming in, I think, at least a little bit.
I agree with the competition is definitely like improved for women's sports. There's like schedules are equal, there's like a lot of competition in leagues, but I also think like the interest might be like a little unequal, because it's like guys sports has been around longer, and I feel like more people want to show up to the guys game versus like girls, and it's more like a popular conversation talk just like in schools like flowing around.
I think that our softball team and baseball team are very like supportive of each other. We go to each other's games, and I think that's a great thing to have.
I think it's going to take a long time for the stigma of everyone going to boys' games more than girls' games to go away. But this year I really saw it come to life more with baseball and softball and everything. And I know the lacrosse girls tried to go to the lacrosse boys' games, and like us both going to a tournament, it really like boosted the morale for like Abington Athletics. So I think it is coming together, but it still has a long way of work to do.
Those are good points, and I think, in basketball, I think we see that highlighted more often, because it's a little bit more difficult the way the MIA in high school have it scheduled, where it's typically the girls may have an away game and the boys are playing home on the same night, and vice versa. The boys are away and the girls are home. So there isn't as much opportunity for, let's say, the boys team to go to the girls game and be in the stands to show their sport, and vice versa. But in the last couple of years, there's been some opportunities where we've tried to have like double headers, where the boys and girls are playing home, or you're both playing away at the same town. Do you see that as something that you guys enjoy? Do you feed off the energy, and do you want to see more of that?
Yeah, with lacrosse this year, we had a combined senior night, and I think it was awesome. The energy was totally there. It was so exciting to have, our boys and our girls together playing at the same time. It's so convenient for parents, too, to just watch back and forth, just turning around. I think I love to see that. I love to see it in basketball, the girls and boys after each other. In lacrosse, we do that baseball and softball. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it just brings good energy. I think like double headers and stuff like that gets crowds that might go to like a guys game to come out early and come see a girls game. Also with like I play basketball and we are usually like away on nights guys are home, and vice versa. If we're home and the guys have a kind of like close home game, some people, like if you're an upperclassman you can drive, might like go out and see them. So if we have combined like nights where we can play, like they'll come out and watch us, that team and their friends and everything. It just gets good chemistry and more people out.
I remember driving back home on the bus from one of our away games, and we all had the boys game pulled up on our phones, and we would all like scream at the same time, even though like we're all in different seats. We were all watching the same thing, and then like we'd run in for like the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. And I think that was a really good memory for what it was, but I think that the doubleheaders could be a really good thing in the future.
When we have games, the baseball boys normally have practice, and then they go to our games after, and I know the softball team loves it, and we all get really happy that they're there.
And I know, and to your credit, the girls do, come to the boys' games at their greatest opportunity. I think you guys lead by example. And speaking as a male, I think the boys kind of are picking up on that, and trying to return the favor. And I think, and everyone enjoys it. It becomes just it's a fun theater whether it's a softball game and there's noise in the stands, or if you're at a basketball game and it's a loud crowd, it's always fun. So kudos to you guys for kind of, gently prodding people to do it and showing them how to do it. I think it's working, and we have to continue. And I think the exposure of female sports is something that we're trying to push more. And again, Abington Cam, the cable television studio here, is covering boys and girls sports, and they're on YouTube and they're everywhere. And I think that has helped because your parents, your grandparents, students, alumni can watch those games, and you can watch those games. But tell me places where do you see any sort of disparity? Again, Title V was to make sure that you had equality and equal opportunities. Are there areas in the athletic program or in the school facility, do you have issues, or do you notice any disparity, like your access to the fitness center or to the athletic trainer or to quality coaching or to equipment or to uniforms? Are we there? Do you guys think that Abington High School has done a good job thus far and the leagues around us have done a good job, or do you still see that you're not getting everything that you deserve?
I think it's definitely getting better, but I think some things are issues with like the girls' uniforms. I think sometimes it's like seniors get picked first, and then sometimes the freshmen get left with like the extra larges, and especially with the inclusion of 8th graders, by the time it gets down to them, it's like the sizes that no one wants. So I think like when ordering new uniforms, if we like try to see like what sizes most girls on the team are wearing, I think that would like help more, because I know no one wants like a uniform that's 3 sizes too big on them, and that tends to happen, which it's unfortunate for the underclassmen, but it's being that upperclassmen.
I remember in basketball season, we wouldn't have enough like warm-up jerseys to put on over our jerseys, and we would have to like share, and if like you were a sophomore, you'd get it over the freshmen, and the sizes were never right. And I think the uniforms is a lot to talk about too with like the lacrosse girls. I remember talking with our team about the skirts, because it's a very big stigma about like the girls in the skirts in lacrosse. And then some teams will have shorts and some teams will have skirts, and there's never been a rule about it, but it's always been the same because no one's ever talked about it. So I think that it is up for discussion, and I know some people maybe prefer skirts, but I think it's still something that should be brought up to all of us.
What would you like to see, Natalie?
I don't know. I think it's worth it to try to take a vote, at least. Talk about it, make it a discussion, talk to the team about it, at least get like talking about it. Because we've never even talked about it before, but I know we would show up and sometimes like the JV team will have shorts, but the varsity team has skirts. So it's just an interesting conversation to talk about.
Yeah. Anyone else, ladies?
I think it depends. I think that not talking about it has left the stigma living. I think it's kind of feeding it. I think even talking about it, even if we do take a vote and there's no change, I think it's a positive that we do talk about it and we, take a vote on it and we decide, because I noticed like Natalie said, there's so many teams that are different and you don't see the same thing every sport. I think with boys, uniforms are often the same. And I think girls, we have access to a lot of the same, like equipment, fitness center, coaching, athletic training, but I think that uniforms is the main problem.
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of progress because we have like equal gym time. We have the awesome like fitness center. We have like film for most high school sports. Like you can go in the seminar room, go watch games before playoffs, and also like C6 Bill, like all like the pictures for like in both sports. Like you come out, represent both genders, which is great. And also like cam film for everything is a lot of progress.
C6 Bill is Bill Marquardt, who's here in the front row. He takes photos at every single Abington High School game and Abington community events, and I'll bet you almost every photo in that video was from his collection. And Bill is here tonight. Shocker. But it's things like that are helping get you guys the exposure, because all of a sudden we're seeing a photo on the front page of something of Natalie Van Luling, or any one of you guys could be all of a sudden front page news, or maybe it's on a Twitter feed or whatnot. Let me ask specifically, talking about facilities. I mean, you guys are blessed here in this brand new school and the brand new facilities, and there's men's locker rooms and women's locker rooms, but not in every hockey rink. So can I ask the two our former hockey players or current hockey players, that's not an easy thing to fix quickly, because you're talking about basically either enlarging a building or remodeling a building. What is it that, you've gone to other rinks, playing other teams. What are the experiences that you've had as a female hockey player on a male team? What's it like? What have been the troubles and any progress?
I think, like you said, the locker room situation is very difficult. I think that hockey rinks weren't really built for gender locker rooms. I think youth, it's easier for girls and boys to, sit in the same locker room. I think when it gets older, it's more like girls will like go to a different room or go behind the stands or go to the bathroom or something, and changing has always been difficult. But I think it changes as we grow up. I think playing boys hockey was one of my favorite memories as a kid, and I think it taught me so much. But I think that there was a lot going on that has changed from now. I know opinions change and beliefs change, and I think that there's so much to be done. I think that there's a lot around girls playing hockey. I think hockey is sort of a boys' sport to most people, and I think that stigma has always been difficult to come around. Oftentimes you hear like, oh, you're too pretty to be a hockey player or something like that. And it's just progress. I think it's coming. I think those stigmas are being lifted. I think representation and advertisement is helping that a lot. I know like seeing pictures of Callie playing hockey was awesome, and it gets people interested. But I think there is a lot of changes to make.
I know that when we had away games, every time we got there, I had a locker room. Woody always made sure I had a locker room to dress in by myself. And I think that's really good because I never had to worry about where to dress. And I always had my little privacy. And then I would just go into their locker room and have a talk and go on the ice. And then home rink, I would always just have a locker room at Rockland up top by myself.
I'm not going to lie, I did go to a couple of home games just to see Callie. I really wanted to see her play. I never went to a hockey game before, but I had a lot of fun. And I was rooting on Callie the entire time.
I also did, and I was there when she scored her first goal, and I don't think I've yelled much harder.
Well, going to a hockey game just to see Callie is a good reason to go to a hockey game. Ladies, we're going to wrap this up and move on to our alumni in just a minute, but can we just go down the line, and if you kind of looked out at the camera, looked out at the audience, and you were talking to an 8-year-old in Abington or maybe an 8th grader in Abington who are coming up, talk to them. What advice would you give them if they're interested in getting sports? Why should they? What do they need to think about? What are the benefits of getting sports in your life with girls' teams?
I think playing sports teaches you so much in general. I think it builds character. I think it builds relationships, social skills. I think every single part of playing a sport is so beneficial for your development as a human. I think it's awesome, especially now with us coaching youth programs. I think it's awesome to have role models growing up and have some motivation and have dedication to the sport and grow to love it and learn and be better every single day. There's so many practice opportunities and strengthening opportunities here at Abington High School. We're so fortunate. And I think that playing sports is such a fundamental part of Abington. It's helped me through so much, even academically. Having practice after school gives you something to look forward to every single day. I think there's so much positive to playing a sport in high school.
I would say if you're playing a sport, I would always keep playing it and not give up. I also say that it takes a lot of stress out of you, and just you always have people looking up at you.
Yeah, stay dedicated or go for it and start the new sport you want to do. There's like a lot to learn from doing it, like people skills, being goal oriented. It's gonna like stick with you throughout life. And it's fun. It helps high school be high school. You get to bond with people. You get to go support other people in your grade. It's just a really good thing.
My favorite thing about sports is the friendships. That's all I think about when I think about sports. Being a teenager is hard. Being a kid's hard. There's like a lot of drama and whatever, but the bonds you make on the field, on the court, whatever, like it's irreplaceable. And the people you meet and the experience you have, it's just, you can't ask for anything better.
Sports also teaches you how to have really good time management, which is something I'm very glad I learned at the school, like going into college now, because I'm gonna have way less like activities to do and more free time. So now I'm gonna know how to like manage it well, because if you let it, Abington High School will keep you very busy between sports and clubs and just everything in between. So I think sports really teaches you how to be committed and then having to know how to have good time management.
Well, Molly Buchagras, Callie Pinot, Ella Williamson, Natalie Van Luling, Faith Ryan, if you're representing Abington High School, then we got a lot to be proud of, because you guys are very impressive. And I want to thank you for taking part in this, representing the women of Abington, both moving on, those who have 2 more years to give to us, and for all of your support for the younger kids coming up. We're glad that you guys are taking the opportunities that are put forth to you. And we also kind of encourage that it seems like you guys have the chutzpah to speak up and ask for more and get more when you think you deserve it. And for that, you should be applauded, and we thank you. And thank you for taking part in tonight's forum. All right, ladies. As our high school students depart, I'd like to introduce and invite up our distinguished alumni panel. First up, I'd like to invite, from the class of 2020, Lauren Kelleher. Lauren was a member of the 2018 Abington High School State Championship softball team. She was president of the Abington Student Athlete Advisory Council. She was recruited by Boston University in her junior year at Abington High, now plays right field for the Terriers, and you may have seen a video clip. She was also on ESPN's Top 10 Plays just several weeks ago. Welcome aboard, Lauren. Also from the class of 2013, Mackenzie Gillis. Mackenzie played varsity soccer all 4 years, varsity basketball for 3 years, and softball for 3 years, was captain of the Abington High School soccer and softball teams during her senior year. The softball team was South Shore League champs in 2011, 12, and 13. They went to the state championships, but ended up losing 1-0. Basketball team was the South Shore champions 3 years in a row, and after high school, as she said in the video, she studied sports management at UMass and is now working for Fenway Sports Management at Fenway Park. From the class of 2009, Kelsey Cheney is here with us tonight. Kelsey is another 3-sport athlete from Abington High School: softball, soccer, basketball, a captain of all 3 sports. She also came back to give back to her Green Wave by being a softball coach here for 2 years, and during that 2 years, she brought the team to the state championship in 2018. She also went to Southern New Hampshire University, played up there for 4 years, played softball, and she's coached there as an assistant for 2 years and has been the head coach at Emmanuel College in Boston. That's Kelsey Cheney. Nicole Perrant-Hoy from the class of 1989. She grew up in Abington, played soccer, basketball, went on to Harvard College, where she served on Harvard's Board of Overseers from 2011 to 17. as vice chair in the 2016-17 academic year. She was elected as the youngest and the first female president of the Harvard Club of New York City. She chaired Harvard's Visiting Committee on Athletics from 2012 to 2020 and co-created Women Empowering Women in Life and Leadership, or We Will, a program supporting Harvard women athletes involved in hockey and soccer programs. She has also been quoted in such publications as the Institutional Investor, the Wall Street Journal, Greenwich Associates, Forbes. You may have seen her on CNBC. She's been quoted also in the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, New York Times, Bloomberg, and Business Week. I have a resume that
She grew up on Loganberry Drive.
That's right. In her free time, she plays tennis, she plays golf, and also, I want to personally, as president of the Abington High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Nicole was our founding benefactor that funded the creation of our Athletic Hall of Fame so we could celebrate all of the athletes here at Abington High School. So thank you again for that, Nicole. And our fifth and distinguished panel member from the class of 1971, a three-sport athlete. You also saw her on the video. She's also kind of our unofficial or official historian of Abington, and especially Abington sports. She played field hockey, basketball, and softball. I can't wait to talk to Eileen because she has basically the perspective of what things were like before Title V, and she has also watched post-Title, Title IX. She's played in Bridgewater State College. She also came back to Abington and volunteered as a freshman basketball coach. She was a teacher here in Abington Public Schools for about 36 years. She also worked with the Abington Greenway basketball team and the glorious state championship team season of 1980-81, and she has also been involved supporting Abington High School. You may have seen her just as the clock operator at the girls' basketball games. That is Eileen Walls. I know all of these young women. I have stories I could tell about all of them, but they have some great stories, so I want to hear from them more than you want to hear from me. But Eileen, I thought I wanted to ask you first if you could kind of bring us back in time in history and give us. A lot of people really aren't aware of what women's sports was like before Title IX. Some parts of it were non-existent. Some of it was just totally different than what you see today. Give us a little rundown of what you recall.
Well, in a lot of places, particularly cities, there were no girls' sports in high school prior to Title IX. Abington, Rockland, Whitman, they did have girls' sports in high school versus women's in college. They did have teams going back to the early 1900s, so I always felt grateful that I was in a place that offered those things. But they were different. When I was a freshman, we played six-person basketball. The thinking was, and it's the same reason why women weren't allowed to run the Boston Marathon, that running a full court would just be too much for us. I was told that horses perspire, boys sweat, but girls glow. So we really shouldn't work too hard and perspire or sweat. We should just glow. And you were talking about uniforms earlier. We had tunics that we had to iron. You had to spray starch on them and iron them, and we had to supply our own shirts or little blouses underneath them. We supplied most everything. And we had the same uniforms for all of our, right through all three sports. We did have to get off the court if the boys had an important game coming up or they were in the tournament or something like that, and we were told we need an extra half-hour practice. Okay, and that was it. But at the same time, we didn't run around feeling, oh, this is awful, this is unfair, we should do something. It just was, in a way, the way it was. There were a few times I remember thinking, gee, why is that boy athlete getting a scholarship to college, because they did, and there were none available to girls, and nobody on my team is even possibly going to get one. But for the most part, like you said too, it was the friendships. I'm still friends with Mrs. Kelleher. Most of you know her. She's the secretary at the high school. And I met her in the fall of 1968 playing field hockey. So that means we've been friends for over 50 years. So it is the friendships. I met my husband through getting involved in Abington sports at a later time, the basketball. So although there were quite a few disparities, same coach, all 4 years, she got nothing like equal pay. It was way less than the men's coach. I still feel glad that I was able to be in Abington that gave the opportunity for us to play 3 sports. There was no tennis. There was for boys. There was no track. There was for boys. But we did have 3 sports, so you had something to do each season. So there was good, and there was not so good.
Well, I find it is amazing when you think that there was a time when a girl who graduated high school could not get a scholarship, an athletic scholarship to college, because they simply didn't exist.
Exactly.
It wasn't. You couldn't get it. It didn't exist.
Right.
And Lauren, you got a scholarship from Boston University. How important was that to you, being a female student athlete who gets a scholarship to go to a great school like Boston University and has an incredible softball program, by the way, congratulations.
Thanks.
What did it mean to you and your family?
I would say that, like, since I was 10 years old, like, my dream was always to play softball at a Division I school and get a scholarship. And not only is Boston University a very good school, it's a very expensive school. So, like, without the scholarship, I don't think I'd be going to such a prestigious school like Boston University. And I honestly, like, didn't really think about, like, not having access to a scholarship. Like, I grew up in a time where, like, pretty much everything has been pretty equal. So it amazes me that there was a time where girls couldn't go get a scholarship to go play sports in college. So I am very grateful. My family's very grateful. Thanks, Dad.
And back in the day, like Eileen and I were talking before, when women played basketball, certain members of the team weren't allowed to go over half court. The team, they had different rules than men's basketball.
We also had to, we could dribble 3 times and then had to pass because you didn't want it to be too strenuous. So of the 6-person team, 2 stayed under the basket and played defense, 2 stayed under the other basket and were called shooters, and the 2 that could go the full length were rovers. It did change my sophomore year, and it was a lot more fun. We went to 5-person and so on, but that's how basketball was played up until that point.
And when Title IX passed, it wasn't welcomed by everyone. There were difficulties, and Marsha Crooks, who was also in the Athletic Hall of Fame, she was a real strong proponent of women's equality, especially in the sports realm. She coached almost everything because there weren't any other coaches for women's sports. And she told a story about a little problem with the male basketball coach trying to get time and trying to get access to equipment. You want to share that?
No, you
I will. So when she was inducted, she talked about how when it was time for the girls to come practice, the balls would be locked in the men's boys' closet. The men's coach would lock the balls away because he was furious that he had to take his team off and share the court with the girls' team. Not knowing that Marsha Crooks had her own key, so she would sneak the balls out, have a practice, put the balls back in, and pretend like they couldn't practice, didn't know. Eventually the coach found out about it, and Marsha then started fighting fire with fire. She would take the balls out of the locked boys' closet, and she put it in a different closet where she only had the key. So when the boys showed up, they couldn't get the basketballs to see how it felt. And, it was a little bit of, again, speaking up, fighting for equality, and getting it, served to them. And we've come a long way. Basketball, girls basketball has been great. Looking at some of these girls, all of you played basketball, everyone on this panel here. If you guys can share, to you, what is it that sports kind of provided to you from the high school level that kind of helped you in your professional career that you might not have had you not had the sports experience here at Abington or in youth sports or whatever? What are some of the benefits to you personally and professionally that you kind of recognize?
I can take this one to start. I think resilience is so important, especially in the working world, when you think about the ability to get feedback. And as a student athlete, I think you are hearing from coaches, and they're telling you when you do well, but they're also telling you ways to improve your game and how you can do things differently. And I think that is feedback that's critical to getting better in the professional world. And quite frankly, I tend to hire a lot of athletes just because of that very fact. The resiliency and the ability to hear feedback, both positive and negative, just makes athletes, for me, a slam dunk to hire.
I think something that's really important is we're taught commitment from an early age. If you don't show up, if you don't go to practice, if you don't go to a game, you're letting your whole team down. I'm actually a nurse at a hospital now, and so if you don't show up for your shift that day, you're letting your whole team down. So it's kind of brought me perspective as far as for my job now that, I'm going to let my team down if I don't show up, so I need to be there for them every day.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's just all about working hard. I feel like I always tend to say I'm lucky, really lucky for where I am today, and even through sports, it's like when you won, oh, wow, that was really lucky, but really it was just a lot of hard work, and the harder you work, the luckier you get. So,
Mackenzie, you work for Fenway Sports Management now. Can you give us a little summary of what it is that you actually do? And do you think you would have that position if you didn't play sports in high school and college?
I definitely wouldn't have this position if I didn't love sports as much as I do, and I think I love sports so much because of this town and all the coaches and all the parents being there. It really impacts you, and made me really, really love sports and want to go study it. Sport management, when I went to study sport management, no one knew what I was going for. They thought I was, going for sport medicine, and I think a lot of people still don't understand that sports has a lot of business aspect to it, and I'm really, again, lucky to be where I am today, but I do events and experiences at Fenway Sports, and I've just had amazing experiences from my time there, but again, it all relates back to sports, teamwork, dedication, commitment, hard work. It all is because I played sports my whole life, and I was given that opportunity to.
One of the things I think you can all speak to, especially our elder citizens on this panel, just because of your professional and work experience, that Title IX, in here we're talking about how it creates equality in the sports field, but that it creates other opportunities in the economics field. It empowers women. And that's something that maybe some of our young high school kids don't yet recognize, because that's kind of what they've seen thus far in their lives, or 16, 17, 18 years old. But talk to us about how it may have helped you professionally, developing your career, the benefits that you may not have had if you didn't have that kind of, I don't want to say training, but just the exposure of being in sports, that it is also economic benefits with Title IX, making sure you have those opportunities to move forward. Whereas I would bet 20 years ago, Mackenzie Gillis would not be able to get that job at Fenway. It would be a man that was hired, right? And I think, Nicole, you probably have seen a lot of that moving, with your very illustrious career in Wall Street and all, a woman in a guy's world.
Yeah, and I would say so. I worked on Wall Street for 20 years, which is covering industrial companies, which was predominantly men, both clients and the CEOs of the companies that I covered. I then transitioned to technology and manufacturing, and that was predominantly men. And so I actually think, to me, sports was always the great equalizer, because I had to interface with a bunch of guys, and most of them actually played sports their whole lives. And so for me, it gave me instant credibility that they would have to sort of take me seriously. I think the reality of the situation, and I wanted to come back to this, and thank you for asking the question. I mean, Title IX actually levels the playing field, but if you think about it, and I try and be, and I know Mrs. Walls is too, you look at the glasses half full, not half empty. But we've made tremendous strides. We still have a long way to go. But if you think about like the average pay gap between men and women today, for $1 that a man earns, women only earn about 80 cents. And that gap is much bigger when you look by different industries. And so the good news is that gap is shrinking. So 20 years ago, it was probably 50 cents versus $1, which is a significant discount. And in many cases, that's like your starting level. And so I'd say for me, For women, Title IX is really important because it starts at a level playing field, but it also allows you to go in and sort of demand what you deserve. And I would say, my advice, and I learned this later in my career, is, no one's going to give you a raise just because. And if you're not happy with it or you get a bonus, say you're not happy about it and explain what you did differently and why you should get it. Like, it's the same thing I say with the healthcare system today. There's nobody can be the best advocate for you as you can. And so you can articulate all the great things that you've done to help your company, and you should do that, and you should keep a running list every single year that you have a job to make sure that when you go in at the end of the year to get feedback, that you can tell them the 10 things that they left off the list in your performance review.
If I could ask the three ladies closest to me, Lauren, as a college athlete right now, do you now experience any sort of, do you notice any differential between, let's say, BU softball versus BU baseball? Is there a lot of equality and equal opportunity in college, or do you still see some difference? And Mackenzie, at Fenway, in your job, do you see, do you feel like you're at an equal level with all the men that you work with, or do you still think that some people treat you differently? And as a coach of softball, Kelsey, do you feel that you get what you need to support your team that other male coaches are getting? I'd like to hear what your personal experiences are. Do you notice any differences? Are you content that things have made, we've made a lot of progress where you are? Or where are you now?
I would say at BU it's pretty equal. Like, definitely, like you were saying, like, stand up for yourself. Like, if there's anything wrong, like, our coach is a female and like she's big on like female rights and everything like that. So like our locker room, like if there's something that we don't have and like the men's hockey team has, like we'll say something, and administration will try their best to like make it as equal as possible. But we recently got a new strength coach in like the fall, and he came in and didn't treat us how we should be treated. He like didn't want us to go up in weight and anything like that, and it specifically was with the men's and women's swimming team where like the biggest like difference happened, and the woman spoke up and they fired him on the spot and said, if you're not going to treat the female athletes like the men athletes, then we don't want you in our program.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more men working in sports than women, but actually over the years, a lot of women have joined the organization, which is incredible to see. I do want to tell a quick story. So because of my job, I've been able to go to a couple of these Title IX events, which have been amazing. But one specific story that, just goes to show you that there's so much change that still needs to be made is we were hearing from an ESPN reporter, and essentially she was saying how no matter what story they come with, whether it's female or male sports story, they always have to do research before to talk the story up and make it interesting. And so when they bring female stories to the media and they go through it and they didn't do their research, the producer just says, oh, see, it wasn't interesting, so we're just going to cut it. Whereas with the male sports, they say, no, this is an interesting story. Do your research and come back tomorrow because we're going to do it again. So, her experience just opened my eyes there's just so much more to be done. And it's important to tell that story. And I think that everyone can make a difference. All the young girls in the audience, like you have a voice, and make sure that you use that voice and, really be confident in yourself and believe that you can make a difference.
For me, as far as coaching goes, I think there definitely have been times where the inequality has shown up. For example, when I was coaching here, I used to coach with my dad. And whether it's an age thing or male-female gender role, everyone would go up to my dad, like another team's coach, and introduce them and be like, hey, coach, how are you? And wouldn't come up to me. And my dad, being the father of 3 women, would say, no, this is the head coach. She's the boss. She's in charge. So I was lucky in that, but that was definitely something that always happened to me. Every single new coach that would come up to me, especially males, because they didn't know and they just assumed. But something else that I experienced is when I went to college, my freshman year, most of the female coaches were part-time. They weren't full-time, and most of the male coaches were all full-time, and they didn't have to work a second job at the university, whereas now they're all full-time. So that's something that's come a long way, I think, since I have grown up through sports.
Great examples and eye-opening to a lot of us. And if I can ask Eileen and Nicole, there's been a lot of progress with women's sports, the strength, the popularity. I mean, they say about 10 times as many high school women are playing sports now than 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Yet, we see the United States women's soccer team is not getting paid equally to the United States men's soccer team. And we see the example of, what was the Olympic team, I think, where their training facilities, NCAAs, that's what it was. It was I think the basketball teams, right? Talk to that. There's still obviously discriminatory, or at least not same opportunities, where the men's basketball and the women's basketball and the NCAAs get just disparatively bad treatment or different treatment.
I was actually shocked in this day and age of cell phones and videos and social media that the NCAA wouldn't have covered themselves. Yep. So it was the March Madness of 2021, and one of the women's teams went into the weight room, and there was just literally a stack of weights. The men's room was like what you would see out here, or maybe even more. And there we were in 2021, and equal couldn't even have been a thought in their mind. To me, it was shocking. I was disappointed, but I was also shocked. I just didn't think anything like that could happen in 2021.
Right.
And as much as I think Abington really does have a parity in their sports, one little thing, whenever they do have a doubleheader, the girls always play first. Be nice once in a while if the boys played the 5:30 game and the girls played the 7:30 game, just saying.
So I think when you look, and you can look, part of the challenge, and it goes back to Sean's earlier question, is it's sort of like who has the power and money talks. And so that goes to how much money that women's sports get covered, right? So if you think about it right now, and Purdue does a study every 5 years, and they'll tell you that 95% of what they look at is men's sports coverage, and that there might be they call it a one and done in media, where it's one story on a woman, but it's bracketed by an intro on a story on men and a follow-up on a story on men, and they feel like they've done their part. So I think when you think about media, when you actually think about these organizations, like think about women's gymnastics. There was an organization that was put in place to protect the interests of the women, and it did not. When you think about the NCAAs, true story, 2015, Harvard women's ice hockey got to the final two, right? They made it through, and I went to go watch the game on TV. I couldn't. It was live streamed, but the problem was the live streaming was crappy quality, so you couldn't actually watch the game. And it was mortifying because I chaired the visiting committee for athletics, so I called the athletic director and say, I don't understand how this is happening. And he said, well, the NCAA made that agreement. Men make more money, so, basically the men's games are televised, the women's are streamed. And that was 2015. And so when you think about that, it's how do you figure out how to continue, which is why this video that was put together is amazing, because those are the types of stories, those are the types of things. Social media, when you think about that, like social media is a game changer for women, because you now have things that you can live stream and say, this isn't fair. And in theory, you shouldn't have to do that, but you still have the ability, and I think social media is a game changer, and I think you're starting to see more, but it's slow. And so, and I think I'm inspired to hear about all of the new graduates and the ladies that are still in school that are coaching, right? The way that you change the narrative is to get out there and get involved and coach and make sure that you're giving all the young students role models to be able to go out so that when there is a women's sport in collegiate athletics or high school athletics, that a woman actually gets the coaching job. So keep doing what you're doing and, you know, stay positive. That's how change happens.
Excellent point, Nicole. And to your point, there was always discussion about, oh, you know, the College World Series, Baseball World Series is always carried on TV, and, you know, because it's much more popular than girls, and girls don't sell seats. But if you watch the girls' softball championship, the place was packed. It was, you know, they're getting there. We are there, but yet we need to convince the media to show them equally. Lauren, you're biting at the, you're chomping at the bit.
I think that last year the College World Series for baseball was 10 days long, and then the women's was 4 days, or I forget how long it was, but girls were playing at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. midnight, and then having to wake up the next morning for a 9 a.m. game just because they had it all compacted into so many days. But then this year they changed it so it was the same length as the baseball World Series, which was obviously much better. But I think college softball is number 3 in views for college athletics, I believe. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's up there and brings in a lot of money. And this year it was on ESPN, ABC, and that was really big for the college softball world.
We are making progress. There's still room to make. Mackenzie, you want to say something?
I just want to say something quick. We all make the same amazing plays as the men do, so they can highlight us.
Lauren, I wanted to ask a question to you that I know some of the current Abington High School students were curious of. You were here in Abington High School in the old school and in the new school. And when we designed this building, we tried to take into account equal facilities, the fitness center and the locker rooms and all. Explain, did you notice, obviously you noticed a difference. What were the benefits to you as a female student athlete?
I would definitely say the upgrades to the media coverage. Every single sports game that I participated in was filmed and pictures were taken by Bill. And then also the weight room. I don't even know if I knew where the weight room was in the old building. It was dark in the corner somewhere, but the football team went to it. Now when I was in high school, we had CrossFit as a class for both male and female to participate in. Thanks, Miss Casey. I don't know where you are. Thank you. And then definitely the athletic training room. I don't think I ever went to treatment my freshman year. And then once we had the new facility, had a room actually specific to Alicia Reed for athletic training, that people would go to it. I think at the old school they were in a classroom with desks or something like that. So I definitely say it was a big difference for both the weight room and the athletic training facilities.
You guys have certainly proven your mettle. I mean, when given the opportunity, you've risen to it and you've proved yourself. And I think, Mackenzie, you hit it right on the head that the plays you guys make as women are just as exciting, and the games and the finishes, I mean, we have a lot of it on tape now, are just as exciting as the boys. Not to take anything away from the boys, but let's give kudos to the girls when credit is due. And you guys are finally getting the exposure you need, and now our younger players are getting more exposure, and we're going to try to keep expanding that. I know there's ice cream out there waiting, so we have to kind of start wrapping up. But if we could go through and just say, again, maybe what sports, Title IX, the opportunities, how it may have been important to you as a person, and whether professionally or socially, just give us your thoughts on you living through that and how it's made you a better person.
The one thing I would say is don't be afraid to speak up. I think the most powerful thing about someone is their voice, so don't be afraid to say something. If you want change, make it happen. And then for sports-wise, if you like the sport, have fun and keep playing.
Yeah, I definitely say the most important part is having fun. At the time, all I could think about was winning or losing, and I just wanted to win, right? That's all I cared about. But now I realize that it impacted my life, so much more. I am the person I am today because of sports, and I don't even remember whether we lost or not. And so it really doesn't matter whether you win or lose. It's kind of like how you build that, team bonding, all the friendships, like you said. I have, 6 amazing best friends who came through sports, and we're all doing amazing things. So I think sports really impacts you as a person.
Yeah, I think sports helps you grow confidence. It helps you become a stronger person. I still get people that to this day look at me and they go, "Oh, you play sports, don't you?" And I kind of take that as a compliment every single time that it's said to me, because yeah, I do still play sports. I did play sports, and it's been a huge part of my life. And I appreciate when someone can appreciate, the hard work and dedication that I've put into each and every single practice and each and every game that I've played in. And I think one big thing for the younger kids, help the younger kids that are trying to come up and grow. And I think that if we can just keep putting more time and effort into our youth sports, it's only going to make things better, and it's only going to empower our female athletes even more.
I agree. Find your voice and use it. And as you think through athletics, and it was said earlier, playing a sport is really hard work, and life, every aspect of life is really hard work. And so I think playing sports, and whether you play it or you're a manager on a team or you're helping to coach, even if you're not playing, like being affiliated with athletics gives you so many positives: the teamwork, the collaboration, the leadership, the confidence, all these things everybody has said. Sports are terrific, and all the skills that you develop will last a lifetime, and you'll use them over and over and over again.
I can't speak to Title IX changing my life in a professional way in terms of no scholarships and so on, but I have been watching Abington High School sports teams, boys and girls, and sometimes I've even followed those athletes on when they played in college, and I've seen just one great athlete after another and loved it all. So what Title IX maybe has done in that sense is I've gotten to watch years and years and years of good girls' sports, and it's provided me with a lot of enjoyment. And the other thing is, when I see the high school kids and hear them, I'm like, oh my gosh, the world is going to be just fine. They're bright, they work hard, they know it's going to. These are. You can see that I'm at a loss for words. I'm just really, really impressed, and I can't help but think that where they're at is in part due to the sports that they're playing.
Well said, and as a father of 2 daughters, I want to thank you guys for everything you've done. You represented the success of our women's programs, and you've really helped keep bringing it up and improving it, the quality, the exposure. So Lauren Kelleher, Mackenzie Gillis, Kelsey Cheney, Nicole Parantoy, Eileen Walls, I can't thank you enough for contributing to this. I want to thank cable TV for taping this so we can all watch it 100 times again. I wanted to also thank Peter Serino and Kate Casey from the Abington High School Athletic Department, who are committed to keep working on all of the protections that are afforded to women through Title IX, and just urge all of our women to keep fighting and to keep speaking out and to keep playing hard, because you deserve it. The law is there to protect you, and we're celebrating 50 years of it and looking forward to the next 50 years and where you guys are all going to go, and all you other student athletes are out here in the audience. I know there's a lot of proud parents out here, and you should be proud. We're very proud of our alumni. We want to thank you. I want to introduce Kate Casey, who's going to come in with a couple of closing words before we take a break at the end and have a little social event to kind of gather together outside the auditorium just a second. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kate Casey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I promise to be brief. One thing I was taught through athletics is to express gratitude. Thank your opponent, thank your teammates, thank your coaches, and to be humble. So I'd like to take a few minutes here to thank a few people. Little did I know that Title IX, the main author of Title IX was Miss Patsy Mink, who was elected as the first woman of color and the first Asian American in the House of Representatives. And she wrote Title IX due to her experiences. So I owe some gratitude and a thank you to Patsy Mink for spearheading and starting the writing of Title IX. I thank everyone in this room. I thank the student athletes. I've had quite a few of you. And all the people that have played at Abington before me, all the ones that I have coached, and all the ones I played with. I've kind of come full circle in my career, being an athlete, being an associate athletic director, and still being a coach here at Abington. So I'm honored to represent some of these athletes here at the table. I think of Title IX as an amazing opportunity for women. And I learned a lot through Title IX studying exercise physiology in college. I had not heard of Title IX prior to that. I was recently just listening to a podcast, nerd alert, and they talked about Title IX, and they talked about the 1996 Olympics, 24 years after the passage of Title IX, how many women's sports won gold medals in the Olympics. Gymnastics, soccer, softball, synchronized swimming, and basketball. That's pretty amazing. And I think the success of the 1996 Olympics with women's sports had to do with the fact that all of those women athletes had been playing since the passage of Title IX. I don't believe that that success would have been there had Title IX not been passed 24 years before. So I think that's pretty amazing to stop and think about. I would like you all to turn to someone next to you and tell that person who your favorite athlete is. I'll pause. Okay. How many of you said that your favorite athlete is a female athlete? Okay. So there's some more thank yous that need to be said to all those people that have played in front of us, before us. My favorite athlete, just for the record, is Julie Foudy, whose podcast I was listening to. And I think had Title IX not been passed, a lot of us would not have been able to say that our favorite athlete is a female athlete. So just think about that as you're going through and you're saying thank you to people and you're recognizing people that because of Title IX, we're able to create these opportunities for women that then create more opportunities for the girls in the rooms. So thank you for that. So educate yourself on Title IX. There's a lot more out there. There's a lot more pieces to the law. It's pretty amazing what's there. Check out Julie Foudy's podcast. She did a great job. And I do want to thank everybody in the room for being here. This was an amazing evening. I was really taken back watching awesome video of all the faces that were in there, all the amazing words and pieces of advice that were spoken. So thank you all, and I do not want to be the one that holds you up from some ice cream. So I would ask you all to engage with the panelists outside. We'll have our little ice cream social out there, so if you have questions for them, you want to share a story, a piece of advice, or anything with any of us, I'll ask you to engage with them outdoors. So thank you.